I have a new idea that I want to start, whether it's a business or a personal project, the first thing that I do is create a website. And because of this, I'm sitting on a graveyard full of websites that never saw the light of day. Because the thing is, as I make a website, I'm having to clarify what's the brand, what is the service or product that I'm offering, like what's the total vibe for the thing that I'm creating, the world that I'm building. What is that world? Because the website is a way to be able to curate and build like your own special world that people get to visit and experience whatever it is that you're offering. So through this whole process, I start to realize, maybe this idea is not what I want to be tethered to for the long term. Maybe this idea was just fun to flesh out, but the more I flesh it out, the more I realize it's not actually what I want to be dedicating myself to. So today, in honor of celebrating all of these websites of my past, we're going to go through them. I'm going to take you through what the idea was for each of them, why I was excited, why ultimately I decided to bury it and move on to something else. But let this be a reminder that this is all practice. The things that you do for fun, especially when it comes to fleshing out your own ideas, are more valuable than you think, because as long as you keep practicing, one day you're going to come upon an idea that you really fuck with, that you really like, and because you put in so much practice already, you'll be ready to execute this in the exact way that you want. So here's to practice, and let me show you some awesome websites. So this site came to be as a personal project. I was looking to start a blog website, and I wanted it to feel like an experience, like you're entering into a sacred space. I wanted to kind of feel like you have to go through some sort of cleanse before you can enter my blog. And the reasoning and thinking behind this is because a blog is very vulnerable. It's a place where you're sharing your thoughts to people that you do not know and that you have never met. And because of that, instead of just giving it away automatically, I wanted people to have to go through something, have to even give me something figuratively, as you saw the offerings. I wanted people to have to make a bit of an effort, even if it's a minimal one, in order to be able to see the site. So what I love about this site is that it doesn't move the way that you expect it to. We have the horizontal scroll, and even just how I have the little spiral element that goes through and moves around. I like that things are not moving in the way that you expect them to, so you never know exactly what's going to happen. This was website number 1. Let's do the next one. This was a concept website for a coaching program. And what I really like about this website is that ultimately I didn't have a lot of photos of myself or a photo shoot of myself. And so because of this, I really relied on GIFs, and I really wanted it to be loud and in your face and punchy and an arrival and boom. This was the first website that I made that's more like a coaching website, a website for the purpose of getting clients. Because of this, there's an emphasis on copy. There's an emphasis on laying things out in a very particular order so that there's a clear narrative journey that a potential client is taking. Versus that last website I showed you where it was more experimental and more fun and free-flowing. This, I want it to be clear as to why you're on this website, what it is that I do. Here's the one thing that I want you to do. It's to find out more about this program that is being offered. So this website is all centered around like, are you going to sign up for this program? Do you need more information about it so that you can sign up for this program? But when I think of websites, I really like to think of what is the one thing that I want people to do when they come to this website, because then everything else is built from there. For this website, I really wanted it to be a place where a lot of things lived on the front page so that you can come to the front page and just like people are used to scrolling on social media, they can just simply scroll all the way down and see the most pertinent information that I want them to see. This website also features a lengthy sales page, and if you are familiar with like the online coaching business, you will know that most of the time people have a super long sales page. So because this is my first foray into this, I didn't want to reinvent the wheel yet. I just wanted to mimic what people are already used to. So for this is a very text heavy part, but I broke this up again by having GIFs to kind of make it more fun, more light, for it to maintain like the movement, and that also helps maintain the feeling of like this is something fresh, this is something new. So now we're on to the last site for this funeral for all my unpublished websites. So this one was for a business I called the Marketing Manifester. This business was all about helping people who are online coaches have a luxury brand by basically updating their websites and their branding so that they now have the feel of kind of the cost that they want to be able to charge. Because a lot of times if somebody wants to charge higher prices, if the branding is not matching up, it feels odd. It feels like, why should I pay you when you haven't really invested in yourself at the level that I hope you would? So that means, because that is what I'm selling, that this had to be a luxury feeling type of website. And for me, I know a lot of people, when they say luxury, they mean a very certain aesthetic, or they mean kind of like, you might think of certain bags or like all white, like clean girl aesthetic and things like that. To me, luxury is not that. To me, luxury and wealth is being able to have the money to really push the vision that you have for yourself to the highest heights. And in that regard, for me, in this particular website, I actually went and held a photo shoot for myself. I was in the park with my kid running around while I'm videotaping so that I can then take stills from the videos to have to have photos of myself for this, because I really wanted to give the feeling of luxury, and because of that really required me to take my photography to the next level versus that last website that you saw where there were very minimal photos of me. I made an intentional decision for this font to kind of stick to the font families that people associate these days with luxury and high end. So I didn't get too creative with the font that you see here for like the rest of the website, because especially the logo itself is doing a lot of like giving you the vibe and feeling of who I am as a coach or who I am as a web designer. And then for this website, I actually really honestly relied on a Squarespace template. I think it's like a Gothic template. I just love the way that it looked, and I didn't really need to change anything. And so I really more relied on changing the words, changing the font, and changing the photos, and having really strong photos here. Like, I just really love these photos of me because I feel like it captures a side of myself that I like to see that I don't necessarily get to see every day. So this one, I actually have an about page and I have a coaching page. I'll take you to the coaching page first, mainly because it kind of mimics the last website that I showed you of the long form coaching sales pages. And to be honest, I think that if I did this again, I wouldn't make it so long because I personally hate these types of websites, and I think that like this format is kind of for selling to dumb people. I feel like it's for selling to people who are unsure. It's for selling to people who are kind of buying out of like panic and like lack of self-worth, because like why do they need so much information versus like if I was to do this again, I would really only probably lay out the process here, lay out like what they get, and leave some about me. Obviously, I have the costs and FAQ, but everything else, these other sections, I would take out because I really think that it's too much. And again, I hate this type of sales page. That's what this making this again for the second time made me really realize. This one's a more scaled back intentional personality showing because it's only really in like the spirals as the bullet points, and then the photography. Like the photography is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here because it shows elevated style, it shows kind of a witchiness, it shows an alternativeness. Like, I'm not just like doing the average CEO like photos, girl boss photos, like, because that's not how I see myself, and that's not the type of people that I actually enjoy working with, because that stuff is basic, like it lacks personality. And so showing something that is more personality forward, just so that people really know who it is that they're dealing with, and I don't feel like I'm selling them a fake version of me, or like I have to like be like someone else or do something else. It's like, no, I want to show up as myself, and if I'm going to have to like coach people or work with people creatively, like they need to know who I am to a certain extent so that they know like what type of vision I have and what type of things that I like to work on. So I really like the scaled back nature of this page. The next page, I got a little fun. I really like this photo. But I made this one simple too. I copied with the spiral here some of the same animation that's on the home page, just to continue the style. And I know I had said I use a template. The template was really only used for the home page, and the rest of the pages I did more of the design myself. I think again, to mimic what I had said on the last page, I would definitely make this shorter and less lengthy, because I think the shorter it is, the more intentional it is, the more clear it is, versus like having to read all this text. Like, I'm tired from even scrolling. So I think that, yeah, I overall really love this website. It's more that I feel like through putting in the work of trying to grow and launch that business, I realized it was still a lot of like me feeling like I had to pretend to be something that I wasn't, because even though I am a proficient web designer, I'm not necessarily deep into the online coaching space. So it was hard for me to get myself motivated in the long run, but this helped me really realize how deep my passion for web design is, because ultimately that was my favorite part of the whole process, was doing the web design, having to think everything through when it comes in terms of the branding. This also had a podcast that I probably did like 30 episodes over a course of 3 months. So I really put a lot of time and effort into this, but ultimately it still wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. Even it more felt like this is what I thought I had to do, but not exactly what I wanted to do. So thank you for joining me as we look through my graveyard of websites, and I really enjoyed going through this and getting to look back at all my projects, because it makes me feel like, wow, I really know what I'm doing, especially as someone who was self-taught, who learned everything through trial and error and YouTube and Behance, Pinterest, just looking at things, curating my taste in that way, and then trying to figure out how can I make that into a website. It really feels validating to see how much work I've done, and this is not all the websites that I've made. These are just the most recent ones, and that I can show you. So it's really exciting and validating to see it in that way. I spend a lot of time thinking about how can I make money from being myself. And so I really encourage you to think about, like, what are the things that you do regardless of if you're getting paid or not. And for me, whenever I have a new idea, clearly I'm like, let me make a website out of it. Let me do some branding, because I simply love the act of having to clarify who it is that I am, what it is that I want, who it is that I help, which is basically like clarifying, like, my life, who do I want to be around, what is the type of work that I want to be able to do. So take this as an invitation to do it for yourself too, and I'm excited to show you some more websites in the future that hopefully will be released and will not be in a graveyard, but who knows, we'll see.